All right, we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Here to talk about everything in terms of professional wrestling, all the action inside and outside of the ring, backstage news, drama. We also talk about, superstars, their inactivity, injury statuses. We keep tabs on, contract negotiations, extensions, and just maybe, promotion signs of superstar. We're going to talk about it here. If it makes major news inside the world of professional wrestling, we talk about it here on the GSMC Sports Network, Monday through Friday. So, yeah, don't miss out, especially if you're a wrestling fan or if you're trying to be a wrestling fan. This is a great place to start. All right, just kind of reflect on what we talked about right quick. We had our WWE SmackDown review, WWE Monday Night Raw preview. Then we talked about MVP debuting in AEW. What does it mean? Now we're going to talk about Mr. McMahon. Episode one, I gotta be honest. I thought the first episode I feel like it was great. Not to, right off the bat, the producers wanted people to know that the first episode was aired before anything has happened between the sexual assault allegations, the trafficking of Janelle Grant, allegations. So a lot of people thought Vince McMahon was kind of portrayed on the show as a psycho. I read a couple of news media, on Twitter and stuff like that. Obviously, it is Twitter. People just like, you know, like just take an idea and just run off with it. People say like his persona seemed a little schizophrenic, kind of seemed like, that person who's still at the bottom of their heart after all the wrong they have done can't really accept the fact that he did the things he did. Of course, allegations, we don't know exactly, the hush money or whatever, this, the sexual harassment of the the first ever women's referee and stuff like that. And, it's a very, Netflix, obviously a new partner of the WWE. Huge partner, huge partner. Netflix recently has been kind of called stale. Their movies, their TV shows, the series on there seems like it's a little outdated, according to, Reddit and stuff like that. So Netflix needed something raw, raw, needed something fresh. So then they got professional wrestling. They got on board with professional wrestling. Obviously, I still feel like at this point it is a very beneficial relationship. But I don't know. I think in a couple of podcasts ago, I talked about how Vince McMahon came right out and said basically misinformation. You're not getting the whole story. Who Vince McMahon was, like, you know what I mean? Like, kind of still defending himself. It's like that thing. Like, you do so many things and you are in the wrong, but at the same time, you're not even man enough to admit that you fudged up, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe, just maybe, the world of professional wrestling would have forgave you more because he even said it himself. He said it himself within WWE News that he never wanted to retire from WWE. So if this never happened, the allegations, he would still be running the show in WWE. And I feel like that would be bad. I feel like the reason why WrestleMania 40 was so successful was because of a new, fresh idea. Triple H, Paul Levesque. Obviously, I feel like Bret the Hitman Hart would disagree with me on this because he says that Triple H, he doesn't really have any ideas. He doesn't. All he does is connive. And it's not that I disagree or, I respectfully disagree with that. Obviously, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Kind of, having an outside of the family kind of perspective on what exactly, between Vince, Shane, Steph, and eventually Triple H came along the lines. And, it's the world of wrestling, it's just drama, 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 drama. And I feel like not this podcast, excuse me, this docu-series presented by Netflix wanted to overtly kind of exuberate a little bit here. So yeah, we're going to talk about it. First and foremost, we had in the beginning of 2021 over 100 hours of interviews were done. filmed with Vince McMahon, his family, business associates, and popular wrestling stars. On screen, on the on-screen presence, the billionaire bad guy that everybody wanted to hate, and that's something that Vince McMahon did. He did super super well. He made WWE International once again. Vince McMahon, a lot of bad, but a lot of things he did for the WWE was good. Obviously, before I'm not condoning any actions, obviously, but what he did as a whole for the world of World Wrestling Federation or WWE, was it was good. It was good. Spent $3 million in hush money during the filming of the docu-series. He agreed to pay $12 million in hush money as well. The government even investigated Vince McMahon, with forcing him to retire, selling the company for a whopping $9 billion once he tried buying the Netflix docuseries, probably to have it edited, having a producer that's willing to kind of give Vince McMahon's side of the story. I'm kind of happy that didn't really, come to fruition. The best thing about Vince McMahon, and he gets it, professional wrestling is all about turning fantasy into reality. That's something that Tony Atlas said as well inside of an interview. And of course, we saw the forever Mr. Bob Costas saying that, the reason why professional wrestling has been so successful and the reason why it's continuing to be successful and the reason why it's a recipe that will forever, ever, 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 ever never be messed with. You have your hero, you have your villain, and then you have your damsel in distress. From the words of Bob Costas himself, seen a lot of sports stuff, and it's true. That's exactly what's made WWE so compelling to watch. That's the reason why a lot of WWE fans love to watch it because I don't want to say, and I know that a lot of people compare wrestling to a soap opera, and I'm not trying to like be like, oh, it's so fake, it's so fake, it's a soap opera, it's scripted, choreographed. I'm not trying to say that. What I'm trying to say is that because it's so scripted, so well scripted, and because it could be so well choreographed, you can have fans, you could develop this new generation, this new whopping generation of potential people seeking entertainment. So they go to professional wrestling, and all of a sudden, bam, born wrestling fans. Gonna, ensure the fact that, they're, television rights. They're gonna ensure the fact that, merchandise, clothes, t-shirts, money in the bank briefcases that are worth way more than they're worth, like 65, $70. You're also going to have, television, TV rights, ticket sales. It's to the point where it's like, you know what? So what? So what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what do you want to do? Like, so, I definitely thought that was actually pretty cool. Um, Vince McMahon claimed he didn't know who his father was until he was 12 years old. He was brought up from an abusive father. He was abused on a day-to-day basis, physically, emotionally. And, he was hoping to find a loving father from obviously someone different from the emotional abuser that he had, physical abuser. Then he went to his father, um, who turned out to be not the same because he didn't like hurt him physically, but he never wanted Vince to buy the company. He always doubted his son. No, he always knew that Vince McMahon wasn't ready. He thought Vince McMahon was, he was too young. He didn't quite yet get the business aspect of it. He's like, hey, you know what? I met my son, when he was 12. He's been following me around. I'm not too sure. He wanted to sell the company to Gorilla Monsoon, at first, actually, which is kind of crazy. Um, but I don't know, it's just kind of crazy. Something that Vince McMahon said in an interview that, was kind of crazy. And, Vince McMahon's father never really kind of told him why, he was acting that way, kind of foreshadowing how fame and how fortune and a glamorous lifestyle could hide negative emotions or negative publicity. And I feel like that's how Vince McMahon kind of went on his business. That's how he went. He found business as a common ground, mixing business with pleasure because, that's the only language he knew. And once again, not condoning his actions, but kind of what, kind of learning from his father and stuff like that. And, being like, all right, you could, do everything you can for a company. I could do everything I can for my father. At the end of the day, you're not going to get approval. He is going to say he's going to do things that at the end of the day, he's going to be like, I don't care about it. Like, kind of like a sociopath, where you can do a lot of these things that are, kind of pretty fudged up. But then, like, not having any reluctance, not having any sense of sympathy, empathy, or any kind of remorse toward what you have done in the past. And I feel like that's something that Vince McMahon definitely inherited from his father, which is kind of crazy. Also, kind of crazy to find out Linda McMahon met him when she was 13 and he was 16. They've been married for such a long time. God bless that woman. That girl is patient as hell. Vince McMahon Sr. once again wanted to sell it to Gorilla Monsoon. And Vince and Kennedy McMahon wanted to ruin the territories, and that's something that you never wanted to do, and that's why the NWA was so popular in the AWA. Obviously, after it kind of broke down, after what Vince McMahon wanted to do with professional wrestling, it was kind of on the verge of not looking back, never looking back. So I thought that was kind of crazy. Also, something that fascinated me a lot of this episode one was how the 80s was so pivotal toward WWE. Vince McMahon wanted Dusty Rhodes. Obviously, Dusty Rhodes declined. Hulk Hogan to take over WWE and have him go to mainstream. Movies back in the 80s, you had that Russian, you had that German, that Iranian, bad guys, which kind of gave a sense of nationalism between the WWE. Bob Backlund, once again, was Vincent Kennedy, was Vincent, I think, Jay McMahon's kind of guy. Vincent Kennedy McMahon didn't like it. Without Hulk Hogan, Vince's wrestling expansion fails, and that's something that Dave Meltzer said within the promo, and I believe that 1,010%. Vince's died. Vince McMahon's dad died when at the age of 69. He finally said he loved him. Finally said he was proud of him the day before he died, which is kind of crazy, kind of crazy. Vince pushed boundaries his father never could. He was able to come up with ideas and bookings that drove his father through the roof, drove even the wrestlers through the roof, 1,010%. The USA Network became the marketing channel for the WWF / WWEK. Koplovitz, the founder of the USA Network, was was interviewed during the episode, which was actually kind of cool. Vince was he wasn't in the wrestling industry. He was more or less in the entertainment business. Skits, talk shows, comedy, exposing talent to different audiences. And, it's just kind of crazy how wrestling could be connected in many different ways, many different aspects in terms of pop culture. Bob Costas also introducing Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper as well. You kind of have these real sports guys, these real sports commentary. Like imagine if you saw, Al Michaels, or imagine if you saw, Troy Aikman, maybe Joe Buck announce a wrestling match. A lot of different personas, a lot of different perspectives from sports would kind of gain a lot more respect for WWE. So a lot of sports fans that were like so much against professional wrestling kind of thought to themselves, they're like, you know what? This is cool. It's real. So, kind of crazy. Stars like Mr. T, stars like Cyndi Lauper, Andy Warhol, Arnold Schwarzenegger, also Danny DeVito. Also they had, Saturday Night Live skit. No, it was just, kind of crazy. And, WWE blew up, I feel like overnight so fast, thanks to Vince McMahon. So, kind of crazy. Vince also had this to say, it's okay for people to say that I watch professional. No, that's what Bob Costas said. He said, and I quote, "It's okay for people to say I watch professional wrestling." That's kind of what I was talking about before. It was compared to the WrestleMania one was compared to the Woodstock of WWE. It was the Super Bowl, the World Series of professional wrestling. They performed in a closed circuit, which is sort of like a movie theaters, but inside giant sports arena. Every major city in the United States and over 20 countries broadcasted WrestleMania one. It's kind of crazy. Protecting kayfabe back in the day with professional wrestling was so important. So important, obviously, nowadays under the digital media era where surveillance, personal, everybody on WWE has an Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you know what I mean? They talk to their fans, they show that the characters they portray on television isn't right. And that, I feel like a lot of people look at it from a negative aspect, but at the end of the day, yeah, like what Hulk Hogan said, it was like, yeah, dude, we know it's fake. Triple H said it too. It's like, yeah, we know it's choreographed, we know it's scripted, but don't you freaking dare come up to us and just kind of rub it in our face and act like at the end of the day, outside the square circle, we can't kick your ass. So I thought that was actually kind of cool. John Stossel of ABC News, he got, kind of slapped the crap out of him. It was kind of funny actually. And by David Schultz, everybody, according to John Atlas, said that everybody celebrated in the back. Wrestlers, bought him drinks. And Hulk Hogan saying that, dude, I've had multiple surgeries, dude. I don't know where you want me to say WWE or professional wrestling is fake. This had a lot of what the mainstream culture, coming to professional wrestling kind of had in store. And Vince McMahon, obviously, with this wrestling promotion becoming mainstream, has to deal with the mainstream audience. Professional wrestling wasn't ready for primetime just yet. The Richard Belzer show in 1985, Hulk Hogan and Mr. T were on it. The host, obviously, Richard was very disrespectful, undermining professional wrestling kayfabe, basically being like, "What you guys just do fake? It's fake. It's fake. It's fake. It's fake. You guys don't know how to fight." Hulk Hogan said basically himself, he's like, dude, like, all right, you want to feel something? You want to feel something? Put him in chokehold, choked him out. He passed out, busted the back of his head. Can't really say that he wasn't, kind of edging for it, kind of, burning for it. And to me, it's like, dude, like you don't go up to Chris Evans and be like, hey, look, it's Captain America. Throw your shield, dude. Or Iron Man. You're like, hey, let me see you fly in your suit. Dude, it's entertainment. Like, if you're a host, you got to respect the ethics of journalism. And you got to respect the fact that it's just entertainment. And, kind of crazy, but both of them, Belzer definitely, he pushed Hulk Hogan and had him, in a friendship lock. Kind of crazy because, like, this so much negative connotated meeting toward professional wrestling. They were sued. Mr. T, Hulk Hogan, Vince McMahon, the WWE were all sued. And I don't know, it's kind of crazy. WrestleMania 1 in 1985 was an extreme gamble, but at the end of the day, once again, Vince McMahon, some of the best thing that he's done within his career, besides all the bad stuff, was ensure that WrestleMania 1, kind of setting up the future of the WWF/WWE, was such a success. Millions of dollars, were invested into this. They were bankrupt, so they basically had to bank on this to be a success to have a future. All right. So lastly, we got our segment 5. We're going to talk about some Orange Cassidy, the AEW star names, AEW's best professional wrestlers inside the squared circle. So yeah, we're going to get into that when we come back. So hey, do not go anywhere.